Right, today I am going to be making a fixed ridgeline as opposed to an adjustable ridgeline. I have plenty of videos on that, but I have a hammock that I've been using now for a couple of years, my favorite hammock, and I've set the ridgeline. I haven't moved it in quite a while, and so I'm going to take the ridgeline off of that hammock, an adjustable, and use that for a new hammock. But I'm going to go ahead and make a fixed ridgeline, the length that is working for that hammock. And I also am having a lot of fun because I am kind of testing out. So I've got the 1/8 Amsteel, and that's the yellow, and the 7/64 is the green, and so that's what normally people use for their whoopee slings and soft shackles and ridge lines. I see a lot of people are going for even the smaller, like the Zing-It type of ridge line. I'm having a little bit of fun, and I am kind of testing out the whole theory on how you distribute your weight on your suspension, and just having fun, and we'll see where it gets me. But this is the 1/8, so I'm going to make a fixed ridge line in the 1/8, and so the ridgeline length that works for that hammock is 110-inch ridgeline, and so I have 120 inches of Amsteel 1/8, and I've worked with this a little bit before, so what I'm going to do is just make 2 loops on either end and make it a fixed ridgeline. So what we need to do is make 2 locked Brummel loops on each end. So what you'll need is Amsteel. It can be 7/64 or 1/8 like what I'm doing. A Sharpie's always nice. A real nice pair of scissors. These are the scissors that I get from Costco. They're really nice. They're Scotch titaniums, and they can cut through this really well. Measuring tape, and I'm still working through my bag of floral wire. So this is a real nice wire, and I got a whole bag of it, so I've got about 10 pieces left of it. So what I do is I fold that in half, and this is what I'll use for a fish wire when we go for any berries, and then I make a little hook on the end to help me from not having it suck in and losing my spot. So what we need to do is make our first loop lock Brummel. This is just like normal, and so the 5-inch mark is how I've kind of calculated all this out. So it's 120 inches. I want to end up with 110 inches. So that is where I want it to be, the end. Hope that makes sense. So the first thing I always do when I do this is you undo the end to thin it up a little bit. Now what's kind of cool is this 1/8 has more fibers in it, and it's much stronger. The breaking strength of the 7/64 is, I think, right around 1,600 pounds, and the breaking strength of the 1/8 is 2,000, or maybe this is 1,200. Let me check real quick. Okay, the breaking strength of the Amsteel 7/64 is 1,600 pounds, and it has 8 strands when you pull it apart, and the breaking strength of the 1/8 is 2,500 pounds break strength. And if you look at the a hammock hang calculator, and in the worst conditions, so in the worst conditions, if you have, say, like the tree's 22 feet apart and you push it to a 5-degree hang angle, then you're getting a cord tension of 1,262 pounds and a shear force of 1,257 pounds. And that's for someone like me who's 220 pounds. And so even though the 7/64 is rated higher than that, with things like knots and bends, even though Amsteel is really awesome about bend strength. What I'm doing is I'm pushing it up to the 1/8, where it's 2,500 pounds, so I could actually go with a 0 hang angle with this Amsteel, which for me is great because I have had instances where it's night hiking in and I just want to get my hammock up and I don't have to worry about angles, and so this just makes sense for me to do. So what I'm going to do is I've pulled apart the end there, and there's 12 strands instead of 8 strands, but the key is you just thin it out about half of them. This is where the scissors come in really nice. They just go through it like butter. So now that's thinner, and that'll make it easier to pull through. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. I just pull it apart with my fingers. And kind of make it even. And then we just chop it off. Kind of do that right in the very beginning, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay. So I think this is the end. So there's my mark. And I don't need a huge loop. I just need enough of a loop to put a carabiner or a soft shackle through. But I definitely want that to be my end point. We'll make the loop about that big. So what I do now, I just kind of decide, and you can measure that out 1.5 inches or whatever, but I'll take my fish tool and I'll put it right through the middle of the Amsteel, right at that point. Actually, just to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to mark that side, and you'll see why here in a second. Okay, so I've pushed that through the middle there. You got like half on either side. We take this end here and open up the little loop on the fish wire and pull it over. Then we just push that through, and now we just kind of pull it and kind of massage it, and it'll pop through just like that. Now that other little mark that I made, wherever it went, is right there. So what I do with that is, now we're going to do the lock Brummel part. I push my fish wire through, and you can, if you've never worked with Amsteel before, it's a hollow core braid, so you can squish it a little bit and that loosens it up, and then you just push your fish tape on through there. You try and get it in between each of the braids. Come on, just like that. And so now what we do is we take the whole other end, make sure it's not knotted. So you go all the way down to the other end, open up your fish tape, fold it over, and then you pull that through. Now this is just the same as you would do on a adjustable ridgeline. You always have one end that has a fixed loop on it. So you get down to where you have something like that, and you massage it forward, and that right there is called the locked Brummel. So that is a static knot locked, and that is good to go. But to make it look nice, you want to bury this piece. So you just fold it over, you go about 1.5 inches beyond it. So you fold it over like that, you go about 1.5 inches beyond, you squish it down, find your fish wire. Now this is where kind of the fun part of working with Amsteel comes in, is now you want to go down through the middle of the braid. And you can squish it up a little bit. Now I'm just kind of pushing the wire down through the middle, If it pops out along the way, that's okay, just pull it back. And then you want to bring it down as close as you can to this knotted area and have it come out somewhere down in there, like that. And we open up the fish wire. Okay, it's kind of going backwards on me. So you open up the fish wire, put your thinned out section on, the little tail there, fold it over, and then you start squishing the Amsteel up. And now you're going to drive this piece up inside of the Amsteel, and the best way to do that is just kind of squish and massage and twist, and it'll eventually start to go inside of itself. Now it's starting to go in there, see? Hopefully soon it will start coming out this other end down here. So there it comes out, right there. So that's all the way through. We can take off the fish wire. And you want to pull that real tight so it's all the way in there. Pull it real tight. Then you just come to this end and start milking that back over, and it'll eventually just suck it all the way in. So now you have a fixed loop. Lock Brummel and bury. Now kind of comes the harder part. We want to do the same thing on the other end. So we will measure out so right there is the other 5 inches. We'll bend it over because that'll be my other end, kind of like we did on the other side. This is the tail piece. Just gotta pick something along there, and so what I'm gonna do is gonna make a mark right there, and you can mark the other side too if you want. So now we will take our fish tape and we'll put it through this dot, not the one on the tail. Squish a little bit. Hopefully go right through the middle. And we'll put that part through, the thin part through, bring it down and fold it over, and we pull that through like that. And we pull it all the way through until this dot comes out on the other side. And we squish a little bit. We go through the middle again. You want it like halfway through. Now, yes, this will be a fixed ridge line, but I don't see any reason, once I've found out the length that's worked for me for a couple years, to not have a fixed ridge line. What you get out of that is less weight, so you don't have that whole adjustable part. And this is theoretically even lighter than a UCR. But since I'm going to the 1/8, I'm gaining a little bit of weight. But this will probably be just as heavy as, say, a normal ridge line. So now to get this other part through, we don't have a thinned out part. We put that all the way through until we get to like the thinner part of the cord. And then we bring it through, and it takes a little bit more effort, but sure enough, it comes through. And we pull. Just gotta work our way through it there, and it eventually just kind of pops through. No big deal. Now we're back to this little figure 8. So we bring out our locked Brummel. So there's our locked Brummel again. We tighten it down. Now that's a real solid knot. And we lay this down on itself. I'm going to trim this up a little bit. This is all non-structural now. So we lay that down on itself. Go past it about 1.5 inches, right about there. Then we take our fish wire and we go down through the middle. And you can kind of squish it up a little bit. That helps. Kind of watch it. You do not want it to come out. You kind of bend it a little bit while it's in there. Squish. Thread her down until it gets all the way down to the base of your locked Brummel knot. You want to try and bring it up as close as you can to that locked Brummel. And you open it up, put your thinned out part in, fold it over, and you do your little massage, scrunch it up, massage. And eventually starts to go in. Now it's going in. Hopefully it'll start to come out this side. There it comes out. I'm going to pull so that's all flat. Pull it out, get rid of our fish wire. Pull it real tight and then milk that back up until it disappears. So there we go. So this is a fixed ridge line, and now I would just connect that to the end of my hammock with the carabiner, soft shackle, or whatever I got going on. Again, this is a 1/8 Amsteel, so I'm easily over 2,000 pounds, even with bends and knots. But this stuff is awesome, and there we go. All right. See you on the trail. Thanks a lot. Bye now.